Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hit and Hustle from IrishSportsDaily.com. I am your host, Greg Flammang, and with me, as always, is Jamie Uyeyama, Mr. Jamie University. It is Tuesday, October 7th. We are going to do a final film review of Notre Dame versus Boise State game. Talk a good bit about the defense and the changes that they've made and the improvements of the level of play that we've seen from the defense. Talk a little bit about offense and how they can be a little bit more efficient and how they've already kind of grown in efficiency-wise, especially work in areas like the middle of the field, intermediate passing game. And then we'll kind of take the conversation about the defense and move it on to the rest of the season and what might come up and where we think there's, still some vulnerabilities. So it's going to be a very fun show today. Definitely a different tenor the way we're talking about the defense. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. If you like what you hear, hit that like, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, whatever it is. We are going live. Links to the podcast are in the description below. And as always, the show is brought to you by ESQ Clothing, founded by Notre Dame alum Ge Wang. He is Chicago's go-to for the best custom suits, shirts, and sport coats. Notre Dame has reloaded this season. Now's the time to refresh your wardrobe and add the perfect suit, sport coat, tuxedo, and casual jacket for fall. ESQ's master tailors combine next-level craftsmanship with the finest fabrics to deliver a fit that's built just for you. Now with showrooms both downtown Chicago and in Winnetka, book your custom fitting at esqclothing.com and step into confidence with Chicago's finest. Mention ISD at your appointment and receive 10% off your entire purchase. That's esqclothing.com. Just some quick injury things to bring up. Yesterday, Marcus Freeman talked about Devontae Smith is just out. He's out, and Noah Burnett is questionable. It sounds like Marcus Freeman wants to decide on a backup kicker. They every week there's kind of like a competition to see who's going to be the kicker on game day, and I think Marcus Freeman's tired of that. Notre Dame kind of has a problem with soft tissue stuff, Jamie. Not the fact that injuries happen, but the reoccurrence of injuries. This has been a long.
The guys come back and then they don't get better.
This has been a long concern. This is across strength and conditioning coaches. We were very unhappy with how Jaden Thomas was dealt with, Jaden Greathouse when he was a freshman, and now it's happened with Devontae Smith. You can't have a player get hurt, miss a game, essentially 2 games with an injury, a soft tissue injury, come back for a game, and then he gets hurt in the second series of the game after that. It's too soon. It's clearly too soon. Notre Dame is consistently bringing back players too soon from these soft tissue injuries. And now you don't have Devontae Smith for this game. In my opinion, now that he's hurt it a second time, I don't see how he's going to come back for USC in a couple of weeks. And if you ever needed Devontae Smith for any game, you needed him for USC this year, given the fact that you have Mekhi Lemon. We'll get into the USC game a little bit because they do play a bit more 12 than they have in the past. They like to play 2 tight ends, but you also have Mekhi Lemon in the slot. You wanted Devontae Smith for that game. I don't think they're going to have him. This is a problem, Jamie. They need to get figured out because it's happening way too often, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's just something that we've seen. Yet, like you said, it's been strength coaches, head coaches, position coaches, whatever. It's not. It's obviously been a reoccurring thing, and. Yeah, it's not like it doesn't. These injuries happen in football. Yeah. I get it, but it's the fact that guys come back and they re-injure it all the time, and it's just been far too common. Like the whole wide receiver situation a few years ago, where they could never get healthy because they'd always rush somebody back, and then that person would play 5 plays, and then that would be it. Right. And I get it's hard because every one of these guys wants to play through it. Well, that's the part where, the training staff has to go and say, well, this is that. We can't do this anymore, right? And it's obviously not something too. It's one of these things when they say, someone's on a pitch count.
Yeah,
it's well, their load is they can only do this. Well, that's so hard to manage in an actual game to be able to do that. How they said, they weren't sure how much they were going to get out of Leonard Moore. And he was just saying that, but if that's the kind of thing that you're thinking, unless it's like coming back from like kind of like how they were working Mitchell Evans back last year, unless it's that kind of thing, I mean, then no, like don't be pushing anything. Like we don't need it. Like that's the last thing you need to with like Cooper Flanagan. As much as like Cooper Flanagan will obviously help the team when he's back, but like if he's good to go, good. If he's not, don't rush him back.
Yeah. It's just they got to get it figured out. It's been a problem across seasons for a few years now. So it's got to get solved. Coach Humph, this is a question. I'm glad he came back and asked this because he asked this in Power Hour and you guys were on a different topic and you don't want to interrupt, but talk about it now. And I've seen this question, the similar type question come up before. It says teams have obviously keyed on Love to start the season. And I think to start games as well is kind of the inference. What's different about Price that makes it hard for a defense to contain Love and Price no matter who's in the game? So why is I guess the broader question is why is Price so effective relative to Love?
Why is he having more explosive?
Yeah, the efficiency of touches. Yeah.
I think it's usually pretty common with like the second back coming in. I don't know if it's just like a psychological thing in terms of like how the defensive coordinator is calling it. Like he wants to call it different, but obviously there are things that you won't do with Jadarian Price in the passing game that they don't do with Jeremiah Love, and I think that's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
But in terms of the running game, there isn't really much that they don't do with like it's the same, like they're not maybe, they like other specific runs for each guy, but it's not like they're like going to pass more when Price is in the game, and by now anyone who defensive coordinator or anyone who treats it in a way that you aren't going to, defend him and give him the same respect that you give Jeremiah Love, like, then they're an idiot. Like they should give him the same respect because he's earned it. So I don't even know if it's necessarily that they're defending it different in terms of like, maybe there is a little bit more of like, I bet there's a little bit more too high. I think that is something that if we probably tracked it, that's something to kind of monitor. But I don't know if it really is like anything that is so different, than what it was. Like I'm not 100% sure on that. So I don't know. Do you have a theory on it?
I think that there is what you said. I think there is a possibility that they are getting into different looks defensively. I'd have to go back. I mean, I'm sure there's like an analyst at Notre Dame somewhere who's tracking every single snap in the defense that they're facing. That kind of maybe has an answer for this. I do. It's really just it's really just like the Jeremiah Love hasn't hit the home run this year, and that's a little odd, right? Like he hasn't, like Jadarian Price has like a couple like 50 or like 45 plus yard runs that Jeremiah Love doesn't have, and it's just odd that Jeremiah Love hasn't hit one. It's also kind of skewed in the yards per carry because the majority of these like goal line snaps or the majority of the Wildcat snaps are going to Jeremiah Love, and those lend themselves to less yards, right? Because of the short yardage nature of it, right? So, I mean, Jeremiah Love has, let's see, 24 more snaps, right? I'm sorry, 34 more snaps, 34 more runs than Jadarian Price has. He has one more 10-plus yard carry, and Jadarian Price has two more 15-plus yard carries, right? And Jeremiah Love has 23 first downs, and Jadarian Price has 20. I honestly think it's just kind of like I like I said before, I just think Jadarian Price is on a heater right now. He sees it, man. And there's a couple, I'm gonna highlight this a little bit later. Just the types of runs, like he had a couple of runs in this game, like the 49 yarder, which is like super highlight reel. I mean, that's a run he doesn't make last year. Because he's
No,
patient.
he's not.
He's patient and he's weaving and finding the hole, and then he hits the hole, and then obviously he makes it happen with, breaking 5 tackles. I mean, that's just special, right? And I think Jeremiah, but he had another run like that where it's like, man, if this is last year, he just bounces it, and I maybe he gains 5, but I just think he's taken his game to a level that is just kind of like, hey, man, he sees it now, and you just got to tip your cap. Like, Jeremiah Love's not playing poorly. He's just Jadarian Price is just feeling it right now.
And that's a really good point too, because I do think like it's pretty clear that Price is a better player than he was last year. Like, he's a better runner. He's better after contact. That's like, not that he was bad after contact last year, but he's clearly someone who keeps his feet more.
Yeah.
And Love is awesome after contact. Like, there's so much he does, like where he gets hit, like, 2 yards into a run and turns it into an 8-yard run where he spins off and he does this and that. Like, it's incredible. And I think he's probably not getting enough credit for that kind of run, because it's not the run that Price had against Boise State. So he hasn't had as many of those. But if you go and look at like both of their explosive runs in the game, like Love had the 36-yard one earlier. It's like the exact same thing in terms of a cut. Like, it's like, oh my gosh, like that jump cut, that lateral cut was just sick by both of them. And I don't know, like, I do think there's like, it's so funny. Like, I saw like, everyone's like, well, it's pretty obvious he's just the better back. I'm like, I don't think it's obvious. I think if you want to say he's as good or like just as good or close to as good, that's fine. But like, I don't know, Jeremiah Love's been pretty awesome. Like, it's not like, and I will say too that there's been like that run where he had the 36-yarder. He hasn't had a lot of those. Like, there's been a lot of times where it's like, they missed at the second level, or somebody missed up front. So then he had to make a guy miss there, and it's not as clean. And Price has just had a few more of those. So I think that's been part of it. Also, I just want to mention too, because I just looked it up really quick when you were talking too, is that in terms of like 8-man boxes that they've seen, like, it's pretty even. Like, it's and actually Price is slightly more. Based on the first 2 games. I don't have the numbers for the last 3, but like based on A&M and Miami, like, which, obviously those teams like geared up for Love. Like, they're like, Love is the guy they circled before the thing. It's not like they didn't know that Price was good, but they circled him. And Price actually faced more 8-man boxes than a higher percentage than Love.
That's interesting. Although the first 2 games is definitely interesting. I'm just checking like their elusiveness scores here. And so let's see. So Jeremiah Love is definitely not as elusive as he was last year. So last year he was at 180.2. And this year he is at let me just go back and check. He's at 103.7. So he's definitely not breaking as many tackles as he has last year. I couldn't come up with a reason for that. And I haven't done a deep dive on it, and I haven't really thought that. I literally just looked it up now. So I don't want to get, I don't want to attribute it to something I haven't really thought about. But the big difference to me is like Jadarian Price this year is 116.7 in terms of elusiveness score. Last year, he was 97.3. So like he himself has improved as a running back, and Jeremiah Love is kind of coming down to him. But like 2024 Jeremiah Love, and look, he has a season to. He has the rest of the, like, I don't know what Jeremiah was through week 5 last year, right? Like, so we don't have that. I'm just looking at full season stuff. But like, he is not as elusive as he was a year ago. And that kind of makes up for the difference probably that we're seeing in terms of like getting those 60, 70-yard runs, right? I will say, like, the long touchdown he had against Purdue is, and I'm talking about Jeremiah Love, like, pretty special, you know? So, like, like that's also one where it's like, I don't know if Jadarian Price would have scored on that one specifically, but obviously Jadarian Price also has one where it's like I mean, we haven't seen Jeremiah Love score on a run the way that Jadarian Price did on that 49-yarder, you know? So they're both A1 backs. And to me, that's kind of the story, is that Jadarian Price has elevated himself to the level of Jeremiah Love when he just wasn't there a year ago. And so I think that's kind of a big story to me. I do want to have a real quick conversation about the Wildcat stuff. Everyone's kind of talking about it, and I think we talked about this a little bit on the recap show, but I was thinking, and I think it came up in my morning after recap, I wonder if there's something to Jeremiah Love receiving the snap and being the quarterback to where it's harder for him to read it out rather than as the running back, because on the failures, he's making the wrong read. So, like, everyone has a problem conceptually with the way they're using Carr. The plays are failing because Jeremiah Love is making the wrong read on those failures. I just wonder if there's something to, it's harder for him to read it out when he's the quarterback receiving the snap. So I just think that's a possibility, because it should work. Like, I know everyone is upset, and I get it, but when you break down the play, which I've done, they're execution errors. It's not alignment, and it's not conception, right? It should work. So I'm just wondering if that's kind of something that you're kicking around as well.
Yeah, I've thought about that, because it's different. It's like it's like one of those things where when a quarterback converts to become a running back, and everyone's like, well, look at him, he's just an electric runner as a quarterback. It's not going to be. You're reading it a little bit different, right? You're getting the snap a little bit, like, everything is just a little bit different. So I think that is, then, you know, there could be something to that. But also, I think there is an overreaction to the Wildcat, though. I mean, I don't love, like, having Carr, and I'd like move him out, right? Don't have him as a blocker.
Conceptually, I agree with what everyone is saying. Right. I think everyone is kind of on the same page. Conceptually, you don't like it, right? Get him out of there. At the same time, like, again, like I said, when you break it down, it should work. So I'm just trying to marry the two thoughts together.
Yeah. So there is there isn't a little bit of a thing. Like, we should probably look at the sample size and wait till we see a bit more. And then I think also people kind of forget that, like, hey, when they really needed it in A&M, it's like, yeah, well, they got it. Like, they were able to move and then score on that drive when they really needed it. So I don't know. It's interesting. I also wanted to bring up too, because we were talking about, like, you know, Love and his elusiveness. So, like, last year he was like elite, like 38% of his touches he's forcing a missed tackle.
Yeah,
like, that is it's like him and Ashton Jaunty doing it against Mountain West dudes, and obviously he's a special back, Ashton Jaunty, but he was doing it against Mountain West dudes, and Bijan Robinson. That's like the list. And this year he's 27% of his touches. And this year Price is 30%, which is, like, up for him. I think last year, I mean, I'll have to do the math on last year, but it's not, he was closer to like 25% last year, something like that, Price. So he's gone up. So it's just, I mean, 25% is still pretty good, but it's just like one of these things that 27% is good. It's just not like, oh my God level. Like, it's just like an insane level of forcing his tackles.
Yeah. Let's talk about the defense. Yesterday, Mike asked us if we felt like what the defense needed to do to get back to where it was. I guess where it was is kind of different because there's different personnel and things of that nature. I said I think they're kind of back just based on how it looks, how they're using their players, the personnel that they have now. And just when I say how it looks, we harped on, man, they're so disorganized in the first couple weeks, regardless of opponent, right? And you've got really two good coaching staffs, so they put you in tough positions. I get that part, but it's just so disorganized. And it's like when you're disorganized like that, you're thinking to yourself, man, I don't even know where to start with how to fix these problems. And now I feel like they have, and I feel like they're using their players a lot better. They're getting much more havoc. I mean, you probably have havoc stats, but just like counting numbers, 4 tackles for loss in the previous in the first 2 games. In the last 3 games, they've got 14 tackles for loss. They're way up on sacks. Let me just check the per games here. They had 1 sack combined in the first 2 games. Now they've had 10 in the last 3 games. They've had a bunch more passes broken up. They would have had a lot more passes broken up if they weren't actually intercepting the passes from Boise State. So they've had a bunch more interceptions. So the havoc is way up. They're using their linebackers a lot more. And I was texting you, like, it's funny. Anytime you post anything about a Notre Dame linebacker like KVA or something like that, every reply I'll get on Twitter is like, he's got to play instead of Bowen. But the same people want Notre Dame to blitz more. Bowen is their best blitzer. He has the highest pass rush grade of the linebackers. Funny enough, KVA has the worst. But like, I don't need grades to tell me that Drake Bowen has been very effective when blitzing the passer. I mean, every time a running back tries to block him, it's just a complete mismatch. He destroys them every single time, and he's getting back into the backfield. And I think Mike has kind of hit on this where he's talked about they got to use him better. You're not using your linebackers to their fullest extent. When you get Bowen rushing the passer and you get him moving into the backfield, he's just a force, and they're playing KVA a lot more, which is obviously what they needed to do. I mean, he's just a playmaker, right? In a different kind of way. He finds the ball. He finds ways to be effective. And you got to get him out there. They've got Tay Johnson out there now. They've got, obviously getting Leonard Moore back really helps. I think Dallas Golden has upgraded them in the nickel outside of Devontae Smith. So I feel like they have personnel figured out. I think they have the plan figured out on how to use their linebackers. Now it's just, in my opinion, I want to get your opinion. Now it's just individual game plans against specific teams. You got to come up with a good game plan against USC specifically. You got to come up with a good game plan against Navy, right? Like that to me is looming. Chris Ash has never played Navy. He's got to lean on his staff for that. And the fact that they get to play a bunch of linebackers against Navy really helps, in my opinion, because that's when Jalen Sneed picks up his game against Navy. But to me, it's game plan specific now and not overall plan, which was, in my opinion, the big problem in the first couple of games. Wanted to get your opinion there.
Yeah, I think that's definitely like the thing, right? Where you're and especially when you're struggling, you're working on just getting it right and just playing like simple.
Right.
And then I think too, like when you aren't getting it right and the game plan isn't good, like it's not like you're not getting it, you don't have exactly what you want against that. So I think like one of the biggest reasons why that A&M game was so bad was like, I mean, it was a bad preparation and a bad plan and bad adjustments within the game. Like there was not there. And that honestly too was my thing of like, oh my God, like this is so bad for Chris Ash. Like, because it was just like, there were no answers. Like he didn't have anything that came up where I thought like, wow, they really, hit something here. But I think in the last couple of games, I thought they really had a good plan against, a good pass rush plan against Green. They had a good pass rush plan against Boise State and how they attacked it. And I think that's something, and as well as like guys building confidence and all that kind of stuff too. I think that is definitely a thing. But I think you're just going to see them improve in a way that, like, if you like, the plan is it has to be good. Obviously, the plan has to be good when you play Navy. The plan has to be good when you play USC, and you have to have all these things. And like NC State's got to be good against NC State. They got a pretty good offense, but it doesn't really matter if you aren't like, guys aren't developing and guys aren't improving and guys aren't. But you are seeing that, and that is one of the things too. And I guess if you kind of lead into some of the other stuff we're going to talk about in like terms of like how the personnel has changed really, and how we view the personnel now, because now we're 5 games into the season. They've played, 4 Power 4 teams. They've played one of the better, even though Boise State, I don't think Boise State's obviously not good this year. They're not as good as they were last year. They still, they're probably going to win the Mountain West. You know what I mean? So it's like, they're not a bad team. They're better than probably a lot of Power 4 teams, right? So, and I guarantee you it is, I think Notre Dame's schedule, I think right now, 5 games in, is, I think Bill Connolly had SP Plus had they had the 8th toughest schedule so far in the country, right? So they played a tough schedule. So you have a good idea about the guys right now, right? And it's not that some guys aren't going to improve still or change. Things happen, guys get hurt, obviously, and things but players got hurt, and opportunities came, and then people stepped up, and that's how you kind of learn about things too. So I think that's part of it, is you just like where they're at personnel wise a lot more than you did like after the A&M game, where you're like, wow, this is really bad. And unfortunately, like, one of those things where you're like, Carson Hobbs, it's going to take a lot. And it's like, their decision was basically like, well, we can't play Carson Hobbs anymore.
Yeah. Where are you at on the D line? I feel like Boubacar has played. I think he's played 4 really good games. I think he played a good game against Miami. I don't think he played as well against A&M for whatever reason. But then I think every game after that, he's gotten better and better, especially against the run, which is a big part of it. I think Gabe Rubio hasn't played a bad game yet, right? Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I'm trying to remember.
No, he played really well.
He hasn't played poorly in a game yet this year. I think Jared Dawson had the one kind of anonymous game against A&M where I think he was hurt. Or what was the game where he was injured? Where it was like, wait, he played great.
Well,
and then
he didn't play against Purdue, and it was like, you found out he was injured, but it was like, he probably got hurt in the A&M game. We didn't know about it, and we're like, man, what the heck happened? Because Dawson was so good against Miami.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the answer. So,
but then against Arkansas and Boise State, he was really good, right?
It was good again.
I mean, I think the only player who hasn't really played well on the interior, I mean, because Donovan Heinisch had the poor game. Donovan Heinisch had a terrible game against Miami, and we can't yada that.
It was so bad, but
he's definitely bounced back, and he was also injured against Purdue.
Yeah, and he's been better. Like, he's been absolutely better, and I don't know if I think right now where they're at on the defensive line, I think you have a way better understanding of like, hey, these guys can play. And if one of them isn't doing the job, then, Al Washington and Nick Sebastian have to be like, well, this guy's not, we got to play this guy more in this game. Right. And I think they're at that point now where they're not, where you feel pretty good about like the rotation and what they have. So, Boubacar, and I would say too that Texas A&M game stands out, but I think some of that was like what they wanted to do to keep him, Marcel Reed, in the pocket, and I was just like, the lack of aggression in that game was a real mistake, especially because you're playing man all the time.
Right.
It's like, what are you doing there? It's like you might as well bring extra.
Yeah, you got the worst of both worlds there. It just because you were playing man, and then you're putting Carson Hobbs out there in just kind of like a bad situation. Christian Gray as well. And then you didn't have the right safety over the top of him. Man, that A&M game, that They are going to rue that game, I think, all
yeah.
year. That is not a good loss for them. They really should not have lost that game.
But that was the game too, where they were like, they had to flip it because of the personnel, because of after that game.
Yeah.
But I think right now, like, at defensive tackle, I think Gabriel Rubio has played really well.
Yeah.
I think Dawson, when he's been healthy, has played really well. I think Heinisch has played significantly better since the Miami game. The Miami game was a bad game, but since that game, he's been much better against the run and a way more effective pass rusher. Like, he has 13 pressures. Like, when you see, PFF had 7 pressures for him in the game, you're like, did he really have that many? And then you watch, and you're like, yeah, he did. He did have that many.
Yeah.
And some of those were hustle plays or whatever, right? Where it's like his motor, but like those count. Like, those were good, rushes. And, you feel better about, like, Elijah Hughes can play, right? Elijah Hughes can play.
Yes.
Anye is like the only guy, and Cole Mullins can rush the passer, right? You're not asking him to do much more than rush the passer, but he can rush the passer. And Anye is the guy that you're like, okay, like, what do you have in him? He's still playing quite a bit. He still played quite a bit in this game. And I think there's part of it where they're like, they know what his ceiling is. So they're still like, we got to just do it, because his ceiling is still probably higher than everybody else's. Like, it's just kind of what it is, which hopefully that kind of thing, like, even though it didn't turn out good on the play, hopefully that play where he got called for the thing kind of unlocks him.
Mm-hmm.
But I really like the edges. Like, I think, Tui Halamaka is like a solid, like, second, like, edge there, like, behind Boubacar. Like, that is a good player. Bryce Young has played well. Like, he's played well. He's not to the point that you want him to be a dominant player, but I think it's like, it's coming for him. And I think, you could see like a real breakout in the next little bit. And then Botello has played better and looked better and better pretty much every week, right? So I think you feel really good about the defensive line, and it's just a question of now whether or not, like, Boubacar is like playing at a really high level, and it's like, I think he has like another level to go up. Can any of the defensive tackles kind of go up a level? We'll see. And I still think there's like higher levels for, obviously there's a higher level for Bryce Young and like Botello and those guys too. So
yeah. You just gotta, like, I think the reps have really helped them. The reps for them and the reps for Chris Ash too. I really think that the more that he gets into the game, the college game, and the more that he gets into it, he's started to understand what he's got, right? And I think that, look, we saw this from Al Golden too. We really did. Like, Jamie, you remember mid-year in 2022, it was like Al Golden. We had the same conversations. He's one and done. Same conversations. And look, I'm not saying Chris Ash is going to end up like Al Golden.
It wasn't quite at this level. It wasn't quite at this level, but yeah.
And it wasn't as bad either. And there are also like personnel stuff. But the point is that I'm not saying it's going to turn out like Al Golden, because just because it started like this doesn't mean it had to end the way that it did for Al Golden. He did a great job of adjusting. He did a great job of then building, right? And I think what we've seen Chris Ash do is he has adjusted to both the personnel and the scheme and to the college game. So you have to give credit for that. Can he get to the level of Al Golden? We'll see. I'm not even making a prediction, all right? I'm just saying what's happened. And so we just have to continue to monitor. Like I said before, the proof is in the pudding. You got to put together a game plan for USC. You got to put together a game plan for Navy, right? You have to continually evolve and grow the defense to where it becomes dominant, because they can have dominant performances or dominant moments, but like, you got to have dominant months in order for Notre Dame to get where they want to go, because that's where they've been, but you got to get those reps, and you got to continue to give yourself opportunities. If you want to be a better pickleball player, Jamie, you got to give yourself opportunities and give yourself the reps to elevate your game. You can do that with clinics, and you can do that with a pickleball pro in Will Howes. Let me talk to you about that. H2 Pickleball, founded by Notre Dame alum Todd Hill. He's teaming with fellow alums Jack Gibbs and Will Howes, who is a top 10 pickleball pro, to bring Notre Dame fans the Notre Dame Pickleball Crew League. Besides football, what better way to connect and engage Notre Dame fans than through pickleball? Membership is free. Members will have access to special pickleball events and discounts. The next event will be a Will Howes Pickleball Clinic on the Friday before the Syracuse game. Up your games with the Will Howes Pickleball Clinic. Members of H2 Pickleball will also get discounted tickets to the Syracuse game. Contact Todd at h2pickleball.com or contact him at 574-339-5195 to join the league. Be sure to visit the H2 Pickleball facility in Mishawaka when you are in town. H2 Pickleball is located at 55801 Evergreen Plaza Drive in Mishawaka, Indiana. See, Raymond Horton says, Al Golden was not giving up close to the points. Go look at that North Carolina game, Jamie. When Drew Pine gave it, he gave it to
some of those were like late.
Gave it to Drake May. Hey, people.
That wasn't a bad game from Al Golden.
I remember those shows. I remember those shows. People were upset. He gave up that deep ball in a deep ball at the end. People were very upset, Jamie. We had to talk to him. I'm not saying I'm not making an equivocation. I don't want to do that. I'm just having some fun with it. The point is that there was a lot of unhappiness. Remember, Al Golden did not like
definitely people like he didn't come into the second year where people were like he's the answer.
Right. And there was a lot of questions about like the recruiting and like it's kind of the same deal about, does he like this college thing? I think Al Golden evolved into appreciating Notre Dame, and we'll see with Chris Ash. We'll see, right? Again, I'm not making predictions, and I don't care to make predictions. We're just calling it like we've seen it. I think the linebackers are, now that they're being utilized, like I think people see it now, and we said it before. Like, what does a good game look like? That's what it looks like when they're using these guys to create havoc and get after the quarterback and get into the backfield and cause some problems, right? Saw that from Drake Bowen. Saw that from KVA. I mean, we're seeing it from Jalen Sneed, right? When he gets in the game, he's been a playmaker. When Jaden Osbury gets in the game, he's been disruptive, right? So they've got something good there. I feel really good about Notre Dame's secondary. And I'm curious to see where you're at. I mean, obviously, when you have Leonard Moore there, Tay Johnson hasn't missed a tackle. That's shocking. From someone who has barely played safety and is now a full-time guy. He hasn't missed a tackle yet. I mean, knock on wood, right? Like, obviously, I jinxed him. He's going to miss a big tackle this coming weekend, and I apologize for that to all the fans. But he's kind of solidified things back there. He's brought in athleticism to it. And I think the way that they use Stroman now is very similar to the way they use Rod Hurd and kind of a role where it's like you come up and you go hit someone hard. And so I think they've got a good rotation going on in the secondary. I think they found it. Christian Gray has played well 2 games in a row, which is that's been kind of flying under the radar with Leonard Moore and everything. So this is why I'm kind of like, hey, they've got it figured out. Now it's just game plan stuff. Curious to get on that.
Yeah, I think, it is going to be a question, like you said at the beginning of the show, about, when they're playing a slot like Mekhi Lemon and what's the plan there? But I also think there's different things you can do. They're not going to be like, hey, Golden, get him. It's going to be you matched up with him one-on-one. That I sincerely doubt that's going to happen. But by the way, I do think Dallas Golden, I think, has looked good. Like I've been very impressed with him. Especially like how he tackles and how
his tackling in this last game was very impressive. Very impressive. Yes.
How he tackles, how he reads stuff on the perimeter. I think he's just, and it's not like he didn't play like a lot of like slot corner, for his high
Zero,
school, right?
zero,
Like he would,
zero is what he
yeah,
said.
yeah. So I think he's just a ball player, right? And I think he's someone, and obviously he's got a chance to be pretty spectacular, just as a great player. But I mean, I like where they are way more in the secondary, and I think like Schuler, you could just see is like way more confident in just the way he's playing in every way right now.
Mhm.
And I think that is actually maybe the biggest thing, because if a guy like that isn't playing at a high level, it's like if he's not playing at the same level that he was last year, then it's like, well, then it doesn't matter if like Tay Johnson's showing all these signs. It's like
Mhm.
he's got to be at that level. Um, you kind of wish that that maybe, I mean, obviously you wish they had more for everyone. He's only played 3 games, but Leonard Moore is just really like a game changer
Yeah.
when he's in there, and that's the thing, right? Is that when he's in there, and yeah, maybe you feel a little bit better about like, well, if he goes down or if Gray goes down, because Zachary has played better, but like I think that just changes everything, and it also changes how you can call the defense, right? So I feel good. I feel very good about the secondary, like going forward. I think they're going to keep getting better and better. And then I think with the linebackers too. And okay, so I don't know how much, because they blitzed like way more in this game,
Mhm.
and I don't know how much that was game plan specific. Like they were like, well, Boise State's got the backup center in. We're gonna like they ran like a ton of cross dog stuff. That guy had like a couple holding calls. Like they were blitzing the interior the whole game, right? They were doing that, and it obviously worked. But they're playing a lot of teams that like a lot of these guys have bad centers and bad guards. Most of the guys going forward. I mean, USC's gonna have a backup center, and I know that guy played at Syracuse, but like he, apparently was bad in camp and in spring before. Like he clearly, like they thought he was going to be the starter and he wasn't. So,
Yeah.
And they definitely have issues there, like what they have up front. So, are they going to continue to kind of play as aggressive, because it just seemed to like unlock all those guys, and I think that it's pretty important to play that way with them, because I think if you're not playing that way, you're just kind of wasting those guys. So
Yeah.
if they continue to kind of like trend in that direction, I'm not saying they're going to blitz as heavily every game. I don't think that's going to happen, but you can't go into games where those guys are playing passive. Like that
Yeah.
just can't. That just can't be a thing, because I just look at Bowen as a perfect example. Like to me, he has been unlocked in the last few games because of how well he's rushing the passer. He's rushing the passer at a really, really high level. He wins against centers. He wins against guards. He wins against backs. Like he is doing the job now. It reminds me a lot of like what JD Bertrand in his final year, where you're like, oh, it didn't matter if he was getting picked on the blitz. He was just always winning.
Yeah. And as long as they're not bringing him on the edge, right? Like I feel like KVA is the edge
he's
guy.
not an edge.
He's not an edge guy. Like I think if you stick him in that middle, like you said, against guards and centers and running backs, like he's gonna feast on that. I mean, I feel like it could be a thing where it was game plan specific, but maybe it becomes game plan specific every week now because of what it looked like.
How well they're doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely looked good. So is there anything with NC State and the way they play offense that kind of gives you concerns, other than the fact that, I mean, CJ Bailey is a good quarterback?
Yeah, he's a good quarterback. I think, they have like their receivers are decent. The tight end is a good player. He's a very good player. Justin Jolie's a good player. And the back, Hollywood Smothers, what a name. Incredible name. He is
amazing name. Like the top 10 name of any Notre Dame opponent. Hollywood
Smothers. It's an all-American name. It's an all-American name. And frankly, too, he's played at like an extremely high level. He is like an all-purpose stud, right? Like he's fifth in the country in yards per scrimmage from game per game. And he's a guy that can do a lot of different things, and he's explosive. So that's a guy that they need to contain. In saying that, they played against Boise State last week, and everyone was like, "Man, the three-headed monster in the back's like." They gave up the 120-yard run and nothing else. Like there really wasn't anything, especially after you saw them have like a pretty kind of. I wouldn't say it was a bad game against the run against Arkansas, but that one drive was a concerning drive. Like it was a bad drive enough to be like, okay, like where are they going to be at going forward? And I kind of just think like if they continue to like kick butt up front, they're going to be in a good space. They've also played bad defenses. Mm-hmm. Like they haven't played a defense. The two best defenses they faced are Wake Forest and East Carolina, right? Which are like top 60 defenses. And Notre Dame, obviously, if they're playing like they are the last couple of weeks, it's at the very least a top 20 defense. And that's a different kind of challenge. And Notre Dame is better up front than any of those things. They have a better secondary than all these other teams that they played. It's going to be interesting because CJ Bailey is a good quarterback. He's not scared to throw the ball down the field. They chuck it a lot. He's got a good arm. But he holds on the ball a lot. So I think this game being on the road, they also lost to Virginia Tech at home a couple of weeks ago. They've got questions. And the thing is too, is their defense is just bad. So to get in a track meet with Notre Dame's offense it's a tough place to be.
Yeah, it's especially when like they can't defend the run, like they gave up a ton of rushing yards to Virginia Tech. They gave up a ton of rushing yards to Virginia, even though they beat Virginia. Like if you can't stop the run, how do you even think about beating Notre Dame? It's very difficult, right? Like it's just because of these running backs. Like I think this is that it is a superpower that they have, that there is no, and for CJ Carr, like, there is no better, as good as he is, there's no better combination than having these two running backs that you could just turn and hand them the ball. Because how many times, there's been a lot of time. And we talk about like superpowers, the ability to run the ball in from like 20 yards out is so important. And Notre Dame can do that, like they did against Texas A&M, where they just ran it in from the 20-yard line, and like that is very hard to do. And they could give the ball to Jeremiah Love and he can score from 12 yards out. Like that is hard to do. And it just makes his job so much easier, right? And it aids in his growth. Like I've talked about how I'm concerned that the fact that he is so like kind of his ceiling is so high and he's so precocious that it's like that Mike Denbrock would get into this pattern of like, man, let's just throw it again. Like, what if we just throw it again? Because you feel like it's going to be successful. He hasn't been that way. He continues to use these running backs to the point where they're the focus of the offense. I don't know how any team that struggles to stop the run really has a chance against Notre Dame, like we've said. And here's the other part, right? Like looking at Notre Dame's like defensive total defense, right? The only real debacle was Texas A&M, where they gave up 7 yards of play, right? Against Miami, it was 5 yards of play, 5.4 against Purdue, 5.9 against Arkansas, 4.4 against Boise State. Like those are, like I said, those aren't dominant numbers, but they're, like you said, they are like top 20 numbers. They are top 25. If they're going to be a top 20 defense against the rest of the schedule that they have, they'll they will run the
They'll
table.
beat everybody, yeah.
Because this offense is just it's too difficult when you have a quarterback who, I put up the tweet, the way that CJ Carr, we know they push the ball down the field, the way that he works the intermediate game between 10 and 19 yards and the efficiency that is there, it's so difficult for a defense not only to have to cover all three levels, but the middle level is like a weapon.
Yeah.
Well, you're always kind of giving up something, and that makes it hard. Please add the point.
Well, you think about it, it's like you got to hope that you're like, wow, he really like didn't hit the deep ball in this game. Like that's what you're relying on. Yeah. And well, he went 14 of 14 at everything under 20 air yards down the field. Yeah. So, I mean, that's difficult to beat, and especially when you have guys who can make plays after the catch and you can run the ball too. Yeah. It's just a really hard offense to play against because they have so many options. It's like if like that Eli Reardon play where it gets called back, right? It gets called back because of the push off. And whatever. Like I didn't think it was worth calling, but like they called it and they called the other way. Okay, so whatever. That's fine. But like that play is a perfect example of just not a lot of teams have that in their bag where it's like, oh, by the way, our tight end can just beat your safety here and gain 20 yards. It's second and forever, but
what was it? Second and 25?
Second and 25, they got a first down.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I mean, or no, it was second and 20 because it was a
second and 20. Okay. Yeah. But still,
it was second and 20. Yeah.
Last year, that's like quarterback draw screen.
Well, every single time they were in jail. Like, and I think about like, early on in the Arkansas game, where it was like they got a penalty early and it was like, okay, well, it was, third and very long and they can convert because they have guys that can get stuff after the catch. And it's multiple guys, right? So there's so many guys that can do it. Even on like when it was third and 25, they ran, screen to phase on there and he got 18 yards with it, which that had no business getting 18 yards, right? It was just because he made the play. And I mean, they blocked it pretty well too, but he gained like probably an extra 10 yards from the block after the blocking. And that's just an incredibly tough offense to play against, unless it's a really, really high level defense. And as you're, kind of going through like where they're at on the schedule, there's just not a lot of great defenses left. Most of them are bad.
Yeah. I mean, here's the CJ Carr on third down between 7 and let's say 10 plus, right? 16 of 20 for what is that? 221 yards. 16 to 20 for 221 yards, 9 first downs on between 3rd and 7 and 20. Like when you can convert on 3rd and long consistently like that, I mean, he's 9 of 10. He's wait, hold on. Let me go back. He's 9 of 6 on between 3rd and 10 plus. He's 9 of 6 of 9. Like you can convert. That is the problem. It's like even if you get them behind the sticks, like you can convert there and you can run the ball and you have yak yards. And like the reason that Boise State was able to limit Notre Dame is because CJ Carr missed a wide open receiver standing by himself in the end zone, and they failed on 4th and 1 when they had a 3rd and 1 and they false started. Right. Like that's why it wasn't 42-7. Not because Boise State was limiting them. Right. And that's the thing where it's like, I look at what this is where I look at like, oh, people say sloppy game. It wasn't really a sloppy game on a play-to-play basis. Notre Dame was fine. It just, when it came to converting, they missed a couple of times. and so they didn't convert. But
which they had done in previous games,
right? And so if I'm a team game planning for them, I'm not going to count on that. I'm not going to count on stopping them on the 1 yard line, and I'm not going to count on CJ Carr missing a wide open receiver. You can't count on it. Breaking down film, these are successful drives. These are successful, conversions. So it's a problem.
I just want to bring this up. I know we'll get into NC State, right? Because I know we're going to wrap up, but NC State's defense, they're 82nd in points per drive, 79th in yards per play. And that's taking out their game against Campbell. Taking out against FCS opponents and garbage time. They're 101st in EPA per dropback against FBS competition, 113th in sack rate, 98th in EPA per rush, 118th in third down defense. They're going to get destroyed. It's just it's not all of a sudden going to fluke out. They need to hope that Carr misses, that guy was wide open. That's not a way to win a game.
Yeah.
It's not, right? That is something that you need 5 things to happen to get there. So it's just if Notre Dame plays pretty good, they will score 40.
I was going to say, how many
35 to 40.
When you start this game, right? How many points are you giving Notre Dame just right off the stop?
35.
Yeah, I was thinking the exact
35.
Same. It's so is NC State going to get to 36,
No, I probably not, they because the thing is that they will need other things to happen. They'll need to get a defensive touchdown. They would it's, I don't think they're going to score 5 touchdowns against Notre Dame's defense because I don't think Notre Dame's defense is going to look like it did against Texas A&M. So it's just, and that's kind of, and frankly, it's one of those things. It's when you're playing USC and you're okay, Riley can dial stuff up. They have these guys who could just make great plays.
Yeah.
Right. Basically, if you look at the Miami game, they won that game basically because they had guys who made more plays. Their top guys made more plays than Notre Dame. They just don't play too many. NC State has some guys who can do that. They don't have them. They don't really have those guys on defense. And even the guys they have on offense, is Hollywood Smothers going to have an all-time Reggie Bush game? That's kind of what has to happen,
Right. We're talking about long tail outcomes, not standard that, he's going to have a good game. Look at the Miami game, right? The Notre Dame offensive line was completely obliterated. 24 points, 315 yards of offense. That obviously that's very winnable, right? Against a team Miami has one of the best defenses in college football, and they did what every team would love to do against Notre Dame's O-line. They still scored 24 points, and they had the benefit of a fluke interception that goes up in the air and all those other things, right? And they had the one-handed catch in the, so it's just Notre Dame presents a lot of problems. Like I said, you got to start the game with Notre Dame at 35. Can NC State get to 36? Not with what we've seen from Notre Dame's defense. And that's kind of my main point is I don't know that the defense that we saw against Texas A&M, I don't know that defense exists anymore. Where it is now in terms of level, I don't know, but I don't believe that defense is going to show itself for the rest of the season. But we'll see, right? The fact that we've seen it once, could see it again. I don't believe we will. But we can edit there. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. If you like what you heard, hit that like, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. Whatever it is, we are going live. We'll be back on Thursday for our full NC State preview and then more Notre Dame football talk. Hear from Marcus Freeman on Friday or on Thursday as well. So have a good rest of your day, everyone. We will talk to you on Thursday. Keep hitting and hustling.